Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all. Rotate my device. Okay. Good morning. Just want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. Today is Saturday, August 8th, 2020. And what we're talking about today is college students and credit. My name is Shantel Bacchus. I'm the owner of Bacchus Insurance Group, and I have the pleasure of being joined by my beautiful daughter here.
I'm China Bacchus. I am a rising sophomore at Vanderbilt University, and yeah.
Okay, and we do have like pretty much an agenda. I'm sure some people that may not be aware of my experience or maybe even my daughter's experience are saying, okay, we understand what this topic is about, but what qualifies us to sit here and really share this with you? For myself personally, I have been in the insurance industry since 1993, actually right out of high school. So, I had the experience of being an intern at Northwestern Mutual Life, which was a really great experience. But then I took that experience and really moved on to my own personal career as well as my own business. So I have been working in the financial insurance industry now for over 25 years. My daughter here, she is a sophomore at Vanderbilt University. She just stated, and we started this up really just to share some conversation that I had with her. These are some things that when she was getting prepared to go to college last year that I share with her, and I thought that some of my clients may be interested in this as well. So initially, we took this to a local radio station, and we did a talk show. But with all of the COVID concerns, we decided to bring it right here in our dining room. So with that being said, if you hear the dog bark or if you hear Amazon knock at the door, please excuse us in advance. Okay, so one thing we're going to talk about now is first, this is being sponsored by Bacchus Insurance Group, where we're big on customer service. And also we have another an e-commerce hair supply store. It's called The Real MVB Beauty, and that's ran by my daughter here, China Bacchus. So, first of all, what we like to do is just to give you some personal experience on my part. I am a mother of two daughters. I've been married for 20 years, and this is something that's very important to me because as a teenager, I moved out at 18 years old, and I had a roommate, and I noticed the difference in our spending habits and really the opportunities we were given. Because I did work as a clerk, pretty much a cashier at Boston store. When I was 16 years old, at that time you had to have a credit card in order to receive the discounts if you worked at Boston store. So I had a credit card at 16 years of age, and of course I paid it because I wanted to continue to work there and I love clothes. But I noticed when I moved out at 18, it really established my credit to a really great level, whereas some of my roommates, they did not have that opportunity. Either their credits were used not in the right way by their parents, or they just really hadn't established credit. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be sure that I did establish some credit for my daughter here. Now, just to give some experience about her, and to start off because the topic is college students and credit, I just want you probably to share with us about how you feel about going back to school because they are returning back to class in a couple of more weeks. So how do you feel about returning back to class during this COVID time?
I think that since it's been a very unknowing time, and that this whole pandemic has been like fully unexpected, and we have been growing with the pandemic. So I feel everyone's efforts are shifting from when we got sent home last semester in March. We were terrified, and it was like stay at home, quarantining. But now I feel everyone's efforts are shifting more about how are we going to live and be safe in a world that does have a pandemic. So I feel like myself, along with many of my classmates, college mates, are looking forward to being back in our college norm and doing classes in a setting where we feel like that's best for us, because going from that college setting, in-person classes, to fully online learning in your old high school home state was a very hard transition for many people. So I feel like there is the shift to looking forward to being back in that setting where you feel like you're your best college student and your best student. However, also you're scared about the dangers and the unknowing, because you can't control what other people are doing. So I feel like it's looking forward to it, but also kind of nervous, apprehensive, as everyone has been in the pandemic overall.
And I think that's a great point to make because even as a parent, as China just mentioned, when this pandemic first hit, as I'm sure a lot of parents out there, I was terrified. I couldn't wait till she come back home. I wanted my youngest daughter to be back at home as well because there were so many unknown factors about this illness. But as she just stated, it's pretty clear that this is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, and we can't lock our kids up in a closet. So me and my husband, of course, to each his own. There are different family dynamics involved. Fortunately, we are able to have our children here, and they have the space to learn in a productive environment. But as I mentioned, that's to each parent on their own. But we were happy to get her back home. But after some time, you can see the difference, and you know how it wears on children, even mentally and emotionally. So I'm excited that she's going to get the opportunity to go back and continue her journey in this college life. But as she mentioned, it's very important to us that she does it in a safe environment and in a safe way. One thing that's different about this with her returning back to school is some major changes that's going to be happening this year that probably did not happen last year as you going in as a freshman. So, for example, your housing, do you want to just speak about how the housing has changed now that you're going back to school during the pandemic?
So, Vanderbilt in general has, I think it's 97% of their students live on campus. That's something Vanderbilt prides itself on as far as building community. However, and everyone loves it because I feel like that whole off-campus, on-campus thing happens at a lot of colleges, but at Vanderbilt, we're all on campus. So, I don't know, like, it's not like, oh, how far away do you live? It's like, what building do you live in? But with the pandemic and safety and spaces as far as availability, Vanderbilt shifted its housing efforts to encouraging people to move off campus. And I think prior to this, like, it was to live off campus, you had to have extreme circumstances or, like, be married. So they started encouraging people to move off campus, and I think it was, like, a lot of contemplation back and forth. But I think myself and a lot of my other friends decided the off-campus method as far as not having, I think it's a safety aspect of not having the communal bathrooms that, like, because you can't trust where everyone else on your floor is going to be, you know? It's like not having that communal bathroom. As far as dining spaces, all of your food will be packaged to go, and even walking into the dining hall with people from all over the world is like a danger in itself. It's like seeing where your food is being prepared, you preparing your food. So there's so many switches where it's, I guess it's forcing you to, like, adult more and, like, take on more responsibilities, but it's like at the expense of being in a more risky environment.
And that's even important with the topic of today, where we're talking about college students and credit. Because as my daughter just mentioned, we were planning, well, I would prefer her to stay on campus until she was a senior. Actually, she may not have agreed. But now this is a new responsibility that China has that we hadn't planned upon. So as far as the housing, now she has to go and get an apartment. So that's something that's going to involve a credit check. In addition, for transportation, more than likely, if you have a student that's going to be going back to campus and they're not going to be residing on the campus, then they may have to have the transportation to get to and from school. So that could even be a car note, who knows? But these are some things that now our college students are going to have to experience. And some of these things, as parents, we're so used to co-signing for our children or just putting our names on it. Some of these are things that we can't do that. I stay here in Wisconsin. My daughter will be residing in Tennessee. So some of these things, as far as leases and things of that nature, she has to put in her own name. And of course, they run credit checks. So let's say if me and her father had have messed her credit up as a child or as a teenager, that would have affected her living right now. If we had not established her credit as a young adult, she may have not been able to go into the apartment structure that she wanted to. And of course, you do want your child, whether they're here with you in the same state, the same neighborhood, or another state or another city, you do want them to feel safe where they are residing. So that's something that's important as well. And it's another reason why we do want to make sure that we are looking out for our young adults, our teenagers, when it does come to credit. In addition to that, just to give everyone just a review of what we did last year. As I mentioned, we've done this show before with Mary Bryan, so she was your very great hostess to us. But do you remember last year when you were first going into this, how we were talking about establishing credit and things of that nature? Any of the highlights from there that you remember?
I know that it's better to start before you're 18. I feel like that's a lot of people don't think about that. I didn't even think about that, but I think I was on like one of the store cards that we shop at a lot before I was 18. So I think that was an aspect that helped build credit, and also I think because right now, if you are a college student, we're in this period of like baby adulting where, you know, like you still have, like you're relying on your parents fully.
I like that. Wait a minute. I like that, baby adulting.
Yeah.
Is that something you made up? Or?
Yeah, I say it a lot
I
more.
have to term this. I like that,
I
baby
say it a lot
adulting.
more. I know adulting's thing, but I think we're in pre-adulting, baby adulting, where it's like you have, it's like you're an adult technically, but you're still dependent upon people as far as that, and you don't know everything yet. So, and baby adulting is a very hard stage as far as finding balance between that. But I think because I am in this stage when I do graduate and go to grad school, wherever, but that's going to be where I need the credit. Like I'm going to need that. Like, you know, I'm going to probably be transitioning to a new car, transitioning to like a condo apartment. Like, so I feel like, but by then it's too late to start trying to build my credit. And I feel like as a college student, that's not even something I would have thought about if my mom or parents hadn't have told me, you know? So, I don't know, I feel like I've seen a lot of my friends be in positions where, like, a lot of my friends don't have cards yet, and I encourage them to get one, but I feel like it's not something we as college students are taught in college or even have knowledge about, but you don't realize how important it is until your credit isn't high enough to get something you need.
And I think that's important what you just mentioned. Even as a college student, that's not something that's taught. So let's think about what that says. We get our children all the way through preschool, elementary school, middle school, high school, and none of this has been discussed with them up until that point. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's very important to know how to carry the number over to the 7th digit. But I would also like them to teach my child or children how to responsibly use credit, how to go out into the real world and have someone respect your credit line. Because let's be honest, when you go to places and people look at your credit history, they do judge you by it. It is what it is. So in addition to that, China just mentioned that she was on one of our credit cards. So let me just give some explanation on that, because as I mentioned earlier, when I even went out as a teenager, some of my roommates, they did not have the ability to do some of the things that I could because their credit was used by their parents or by other family members. And we all heard this before: cable bills, phone bills, things of that nature. So their credit was used, and that's not the way that we're referring to right now. We're not referring to utilities, apartments, houses, things of that nature. What me and my spouse did for my daughter here is we added her as an authorized user. Now that's a term, you know, of course, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. As I mentioned, you know, this is my agency here, and the website is www.BacchusInsuranceGroup.com. So if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. This is something that I do share with my clients and also prospects at no cost. But you add them on as an authorized user. Now, there are different types of authorized users that I do know. One, you can add on an authorized user and their credit would not be affected at all. So that's saying I had a credit card, I wanted my daughter, even a friend, or for that matter, I wanted them to be able to use my credit card when I'm not around. I can just add them as an authorized user on my card, and they'll actually have a credit card with their name on it with my account, you know, with my account information. So that is one form of authorized user. But what we did, we added her on as an authorized user where they do report to the credit bureaus for her name as well. So there are several cards out there that does this. Of course, you want to do your research on that. You know, this is not something that I do professionally every day, work with authorized user. But as an example, one of the cards that we used was Victoria's Secret. You know, at that time, women, we like perfumes, you know, who doesn't need underwear. And they did have clothes and other things at that time, too. So the card that we added China to was Victoria's Secret. So I believe that they're still doing this with authorized users. So that's something you can research on your own as well. But when we did put her on as an authorized user, as she mentioned, our credit payments just reflected hers. So with that said, if we hadn't paid our bills, that would reflect hers as well. So this is a process that you really want to make sure that you speak with your parent about, or that you speak with your child about, or you really as a parent decide this is something you really want to do if you're ready to do that. Because I do know right now we're dealing with unprecedented times here with the COVID-19. So if this is not something that you believe as a parent that you're going to be financially able to continue the payments, to make good credit history decisions for them, then that's something that you may want to reconsider. But at that time, we did have a Victoria's Secret credit card for her. We made sure that we paid that on a regular basis, and that went on probably for about 2 years. So when China was preparing to go to college, you know, all the credit card offers come through the mail. So we decided to get her just one card, because I do want to make that clear. We weren't trying to throw several credit cards at her. We did allow her to get one credit card, and off of that one credit card, you know, we made sure that she paid it on a regular basis. Honestly, I had the alerts on my telephone as well, so when the payments came due, I would remind her, because she was a college student, but she was always on top of it as well. Just to start with that first credit card that you've gotten, did you notice anything once after time you were paying it on time? Did you get any other bonuses? Did they increase your credit line? Like, what happened with that?
So my credit line did increase about, I'd say, 6 months into it, because I was very good about paying it off and putting forward my payments each month. And also the cash back, there's benefits as far as that. So yeah, it's like a very small percentage, but money is money. So
free money,
right,
free money. Yeah. Okay.
So when I'm getting like food or gas, there's certain items that I purchase that I get a percentage of the money back. So even when you're spending, you know, bigger sums of money with like even like buying stuff for college and stuff like that, those like $4 or $5 that go towards your bill, or even on Amazon, I think there's an option that links like my credit card to the Amazon account if I buy something. So it's like, oh, do you want to use your cash back on this? So I feel that, you know, just like the cash back, and then it gives you more incentive to use the card. So even if you're not ready to, because I wasn't ready to buy, like, first of all, what am I truly buying in college? But like if you are buying those little meals and stuff like that, just like the small things that give you incentive to use the card, because it's better, that little percent cash back is better than just using your debit card.
Exactly. And that's important too. You know, we have to start taking more advantage of perks. If you're getting things for free, you know, take advantage of it. It may take 10 to 20 minutes to set it up. As China just mentioned, with those perks, there's airline perks you could have gotten as well, cash back offers. And just keep it in mind, if you did not have sufficient credit or something of that nature, it may not have been a cash back offer credit card that you would have been allowed. But that's very important to just make sure that you're taking advantage of every opportunity that you can. If it's a free meal, take that. Because imagine if you took that $5 and saved it and let it continue to compound interest. In 20 years, you'd be surprised what you would have there. So let's just, you know, make that one of our mid-year resolutions to take advantage of all the perks that are given to us. Now, just to get back to the credit, we're going to go back to the credit, you know, what we're here for. But just to talk to, you know, some of our college students, I know you're getting ready for this big world and there's so much going on. But it's very important to even work with a professional at this age. Professionals such as myself love to see college students come in and have the mindset to want to talk about these different things. There are some of my clients that I've been working with for about 15 years now. I saw them when they were just coming out of college maybe. We went through college loans together. I've seen them pay off their college loans, purchase their first homes, become parents. And it's something that's really satisfying to a lot of insurance professionals and financial professionals as well. So just to talk about some things that credit is pretty much essential in when as far as the cost. First is housing. We just talked about that. I think everyone knows that. As soon as you go to look for an apartment to rent, a place to stay, they're going to run a credit check. So that can be the difference of where your children go to school. That can be the difference of your safety, things of that nature. So I think that's very important. But in the event that there's more that we're looking for, there's employment. You know, credit is important with employment now. Especially in my line of business, if you don't have the right finances, a lot of insurance companies or financial institutions, they don't want to contract with you because they feel as though they cannot trust you with some personal information that you may have on their clients. So, you know, it's even as although I'm a business owner, it could still limit the contracts that I am awarded if it was for bad credit. Third is the debt. The cost that you pay to borrow money. You know, I'm a big proponent of the rule of 72. You know, how much are you really paying to borrow someone's money, or how much are you paying for this debt? The fourth is insurance premiums. A lot of people are unaware of this, but as an insurance agent, even when I'm doing an auto quote, that's something that insurance carriers look for. They run credit checks, they see what's out there on your credit, so you can be paying more for your monthly insurance premiums based upon your credit. That's a big deal. Homeowners insurance, same thing, pay more based upon your credit. Business owners, when I put my business owners in there, even some of them that have LLCs, if it's a newer business and things of that nature, they still want to have some financial responsibility, and it's still going to go to the business owner, and that's some credit as well. And second, and the fifth and foremost, is your investments. We just spoke about the cost of money. If you're paying more to borrow money than the second person, it's going to affect your investments as well. So just to give some basics on the credit. Credit does range from the number 300 to 850. So I'm just going to have you go through here, because I don't even know if we went through this yet, but this is per Equifax. So if you have these numbers here, it'll give you the rating of what they think your credit is stated at. So I'm just going to go over these here.
Yeah, so 300 to 579 is considered poor credit. Fair credit, you'd be looking at a 580 to a 669. Good credit is starting at that 670 to 7. It starts at 670 and it goes to 739. So then you're in that good range. Mm-hmm. And then very good ranges from 740 to 799. So yeah. And then excellent is from 800 to 850. So you're really peaking once you hit the 800.
Yeah, and you know, not to get too personal, but I remember even with the work that we've done with China, when we first worked with her and got her credit card about a year ago, you were in the 700s, and that's still just considered good. So, you know, when we work with credit, I'm not even sure how many people know what the credit range is from. So that's very important to know. You know, some of these things, even as adults, we may not be familiar with. So for credit to be even considered really good, you need to be at a 670, and that's the minimal. To really get into the excellent ballpark, of course, it's 850. But what's one thing to keep in mind as well, that there are 3 different credit bureaus. You have Equifax, you have Experian, as well as TransUnion. Depending on which employer or which housing you use, some of them use one credit bureau versus rather than the other. Some use a mixture of all 3 of them. So I always recommend to my clients is that they get their free annual credit report. This is something that everyone is allowed at least once a year by each of the credit bureaus. There's actually one sheet of paper here, and I'm sure you probably can't see this here, but there's one sheet of paper that you can send in. As you can see on the top here, it goes to all credit bureaus. And when I put this on our YouTube channel, I'll make sure that we do have an attachment on there as well for this. But what's nice about this paper here is you just fill out, you know, it's very simple too. They're just asking for your social security number, date of birth, first and last name, your address, and if you had a previous mailing address. So those are all of the details that they're asking. It's not really going into, you know, a lot of your personal information, but I do know that if they have some discrepancies before they'll send this just to anyone, they will have you verify your identification. So that's something to keep in mind. But you send this one sheet of paper in once a year, and you get all 3 of your annual credit reports. And, you know, I'm sure everybody is online now, of course, so you can actually do this on the website. If you do it on the website, make sure, or I would recommend that you're on your own device so you can save it, because sometimes you'll find indiscrepancies on there that you want to dispute. So in the event that you want to go online and get your free credit report, you can do this as soon as you finish up with us here in a couple of minutes. But the online website is www.annualcreditreport.com. That's www.annualcreditreport.com. So you go there, you can also do it online, as I mentioned, or via paper. But once you do get your 3 credit reports, the first thing that I did when I get mine is you would dispute some things that are on there. They may have 2 or 3 different addresses on there for you. Sometimes they have different names. They may have old accounts that should have been off of there, or maybe some of your creditors have they've reported your payment history incorrectly. So, if you do go online, one of the options that you do have as you're going through your credit report online, you can just click a button and dispute it right at that time. And I found that to be very helpful. They usually respond back immediately. They'll give you so much time. And I found that some of my clients, even things that may have been validated, still dropped off of their credit reports. Secondly, I would also say hire professionals. Whether it's a professional service, I know that a lot of people that I know do have credit counseling services that they offer. At Bacchus Insurance Group, we also offer a credit restorative program, a credit restoration program. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions about your credit. And that's something that we just really want to make sure that we take heed to. As I mentioned, this is just a short, informal conversation that me and my daughter had here today. If you do have questions about anything, feel free to, reach out to us. I did tag her in the video as well. We're always open to answer your questions, things of that nature. But just keeping in mind, we do this every second Saturday of the month. So our next one will be, what day is that going to be? September the 12th, 2020 at 10 a.m. And what we're going to be talking about at that time, because my little angel here is going to be gone, I'm going to miss her so much, but my little baby will be gone. But what we'll be talking about the next time is income opportunities for education, for educator professionals. There are a lot of educators out there who, this is a very difficult time for them, so they're going to be going through some changes, and we just want to give some options, some income opportunities that they can even do from home. So that's what we'll be talking about during our next session of Family Matters, that's sponsored by Bacchus Insurance Group, as well as Real MVB Beauty. And we thank you all for joining us today. We have enjoyed ourselves. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. As I mentioned, I can be reached at www.bacchusinsurancegroup.com, where we're big on customer service. And I do want to give a shout out to my baby girl, Shazia, as well. She's the director here, and she's been helping us with lights, cameras, and action. So thank you all so much, and we've enjoyed our time here. Goodbye.